Good morning and thanks for coming today. I am Brian Haug. I work for an electrical contractor here in the Chicagoland area named Continental Electrical Construction Company. We're a 100-year-old company, and one of the things that we do is electric vehicle car charger installation. So now that you've decided that you're going to put car chargers in your facility, you're probably wondering, how much is it going to cost? Or what are the factors that I need to consider when it comes to putting car chargers in? And I've listed here a few of the things that you need to take into consideration when you are putting in a car charger. John pointed out several of the issues regarding where the power comes from and the voltage of some of these chargers. But the biggest issue is whether or not your parking garage or your facility has the electrical infrastructure capable to power electric vehicle car chargers. Now, most of the level 2 car chargers do take 2-pole 40 amp dedicated circuit, and either at 240 volt or 208 volt, and most of your facilities will have that. But you'll frequently find, and I'm sure you have in your facilities, frequently found that there aren't any breakers left open. So you need to consider whether or not there is capacity and the infrastructure there. You may actually have to go back to your main electrical switchboard and run a new circuit or a panel feeder out to the location where you're going to put your car chargers, which certainly increases the cost. The voltage availability, car chargers, the level 1 and the level 2 car chargers. Level 1s work off 120 volt, which is the residential voltage that we all have, but it's a little bit slower trickle charge. A level 2 charger works off either 240 volt or 208 volt. So if you have only 480 volt available in your facility, you're going to have to invest in a transformer to step that voltage down. Many people, when they put in a car charger, they want to have it very prominently displayed, right up front or right next to the main entrance. But you have to consider how far that location may be from the electrical panel, the electrical source. If you want to put it right next to the front door and you have to saw cut the pavement and take up a piece of sidewalk and put in a new base and do trenching and backfill and repaving, that's certainly going to increase the cost. In a parking garage, if you can find the location that's sitting right next to the electrical panel, or perhaps right next to the elevator closet where there's likely an electrical panel nearby, that's certainly most cost effective. Anytime you can stay out of the ground, do an overhead feed like in a garage, that's certainly better, because you're only adding cost when you have to go underground with directional boring or trenching and saw cutting. A lot of the parking decks that we find here in the city are post-tension parking garages. So when you have to do an x-ray or a scan to do coring, that will add to the cost as well. And then the unit protection itself, you want to make sure that a car bumper doesn't smash into it. So you're going to need to spend some money to put in a parking bollard of some sort, steel bollard. Other things that you need to consider, like Kate mentioned, are signage, and this is the sign that we use when we put in a car charger. And we've installed about 200 car chargers in and around the city over the last year and a half or so. But you can see from this installation, it's got the signage and protective bollards for that particular car charger. Many owners want to identify the space even more by putting in special stenciling or green paint. So here's a location at one of the Sears stores in town that put in car chargers, and they wanted to make sure that they had very good signage. So that, again, adds a little bit of cost. There is a section of the National Electric Code that governs just electric vehicle car chargers, and it's Article 625. And Article 625 says that if your car charger is 60 amps or less, you do not have to put in an electrical disconnect. This is General Electric chargers, and up above is an electrical disconnect. Again, just one more thing that adds a little bit of cost. But if you stick with most level 2s, you don't have to put in a disconnect. When you start getting up into the higher power level 2s or into the level 3 DC fast chargers, you need to put in an electrical disconnect. One other thing too, the placement of your charger, not only do you want it to be perhaps prominent and display it, but when you put it deep down in the basement of a building, if you choose a car charger that relies on cellular communication to handle your billing perhaps, then you need to make sure that where you put it has adequate cell phone signal. So there are two different signals that car chargers work on. One is CDMA, one is GSM. AT&T and T-Mobile use GSM, Verizon, Sprint, US Cellular, and maybe another use CDMA. But if you are going to be using a network, so to handle all the billing and communications, you need to make sure you have cell phone service. So you can just look at your cell phone and see if you have a signal down in the basement of your building. If not, you either can jump onto the building's distributed antenna system or their Wi-Fi system, or you may have to go to the expense of running an external antenna to get it to higher in the building or maybe out towards the ramp so that you can get the signal. As John pointed out, there are lots of different solutions out there. These are just a few, and perhaps you've seen some of the names, and actually several of these are out on the showroom floor. ChargePoint is a level 2 supplier that has cord management. The two big ones right there to the right, that is a DC fast charger, and that one's made by Epicec. Telephonics that John referred to, that's nearly the only level 1 charger that I know that's on the market today. AeroVironment is very big in the upper right-hand corner, very big in California. Clipper Creek down in the bottom right-hand corner has been making chargers for almost 20 years, so they're very well into the market. Eaton has their product as well, and Leviton has several charging solutions. So how much is it going to cost? Well, assuming that you have the infrastructure there, you should expect to pay a minimum of $10,000 before any rebates that could apply for a dual level 2 charger. Now the unit itself, and I'm talking from the products that we typically install, run anywhere between $6,000 and $7,000 each to install. So a dual level 2 charger, you would expect to pay a minimum of roughly $10,000 for one of those. And of course here in Illinois you get 50% of that back, so you'd only have to come up with $5,000, which is not too much to pay to have happy EV drivers. And I am an EV driver as well. I drive a Chevy Volt, and I will tell you that anytime I go downtown, I know that I have to pay somebody $32 to park in their parking garage, and I will choose to park in the parking garage that someone who gives me free charging. So they're going to give me 40 cents free electricity, and I give them my $32 versus the guy next door that doesn't have the charging station in their parking garage. If you step up and put in 2 level 2 chargers or multiple level 2 chargers, for 2 you'd expect to pay a minimum of roughly $18,000. It could be more depending on some of the factors that we talked about. But the point I want to make here is, once you get one of them in, you've already done the saw cutting, you've already done the excavating, you've already done the directional boring, you've already run the conduit and wire. Adding more in at the head end, or preparing or planning ahead, and so you can put more into the future, is much cheaper. It doesn't just double. It's not $20,000 to put in 2 and $30,000 to put in 3. So it gets cheaper as you put in multiple. So most of our clients, instead of putting in one dual level 2, they'll put in 2 or 3 at the same time. Now the DC fast chargers can certainly run, sometimes some of those are even $60,000 just to buy them. But with those, you need a 100 amp AC circuit. So typically you'll need a new service at 480 volts. You'll need a new service from the utility, which certainly drives up the cost. That's all I have to say about installation, and I'll be happy to answer your questions as we go on.